What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. I told you it was going to happen, didn't I? Yesterday I said watch Nintendo will announce that Direct, just after Newswave goes up, and I guess they gave me like a 2-hour buffer, little 2-hour window in there, and then they announced it, and then everyone went crazy talking about the Direct. And I was going to wait really until now to talk about it, but we also did a predictions video with a bunch of other people, had a lot of fun in that video/podcast. Check that out from last night. It was a lot of fun, but we're going to go over some of the stuff here. Think of this as like a pregame to the Nintendo Direct, as there have been a little bit more information coming out as to what we can possibly expect at this event. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Also, SNK appears to be making hardware again. Not necessarily little arcade cabinets, but actual peripherals. We'll go over all of that and more today. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit the like button. It does help out, and get subscribed so you can stay up to date on all of the gaming news that happens in the gaming world. We're going to start today with Code Vein. Code Vein is out at the end of this month, September 27th, on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, and that's where the demo is going to be releasing. It's actually out now. You can go check the game out if you would like. They did a network test before that was kind of timed. It was basically in like a set amount of time that they had set up, like windows for the network test, but they actually have a full-on demo. You can go download and experience some of the beginning of the game. They've also incorporated kind of a challenging dungeon that they put in there as well. Here's the thing about this game. I kind of forgot about it. Just to be honest, I haven't really thought too much about Code Vein, but the best way to get some hype going again is to release a demo and just put it out there and let people actually play the game and see what they think. At least there's that. Again, though, it's coming out at the end of the month. I'm going to try to check it out when it does come out, but to be honest, it's getting a bit crowded, and you have to start picking games that you won't play right away. Code Vein might end up being a game that I check out towards the end of the year when we get into December, and there's less releases all happening at once. Either way, though, if you want to see what it's all about, check out the demo. It's available right now on the PS4 and the Xbox One. Also, we got a release date for Ukulele and the Impossible Lair. This game is out on all platforms. That's going to be October 8th. So PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. And of course, we played Ukulele. It was like the 3D style game that's like Banjo-Kazooie, for example, right? Kind of one of those collectathon style games. But I like the look of this because it's the 2D style platformer, and I think this is going to work really well for the series. I'm looking forward to it. We already had a bunch of information from before, but now we have a release date on October 8th. Oh, and of course, I always like to make some of the older people in the audience here feel even older. Because you remember Tony Hawk Pro Skater? Great game, right, on the PS1. It was on the Nintendo 64. It started this whole series of skateboarding games that eventually fizzled out. Well, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 actually turned 20, that's right, 20 years old at the end of August. And I thought this was really, really funny, and I wanted to put it in a Newswave just to, again, kind of remind us all how old we are, especially if you were like me and you enjoyed the game back when it released on the original PlayStation, which I absolutely loved the game, still enjoy playing it. It actually still holds up. Like, you could plug in a Nintendo 64 or a PlayStation 1 and still play the game and enjoy it. Visually, yeah, I know it's not the greatest, but you can still have fun with it. The soundtrack is next level in that game. And then, of course, if you play on the PlayStation 1, you can just unlock like those bail videos and stuff, and that was always fun. Series is still great. I would love to see it come back, but just not like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. Oh, and check this out. Grid Autosport is coming out on the Switch soon, I guess. I thought they said September or something. It's coming out at some point. Anyway, on Twitter, check this out. Feral Interactive responded to a person on Twitter about the GameCube controller, and they say they have the GameCube controller working with Grid, and that makes me wonder if they're referring to the shoulder buttons, the analog shoulder buttons, because that would actually work with a driving game like that, right? Where you have kind of like you push the pedal down slowly, for example, but of course the Switch Pro controller and the Joy-Cons have like digital triggers, so it does not have that slow press and that travel. I'm not 100% sure if they're talking specifically about that, as they did not go into detail. They just said GameCube controller, and there are several games that use the GameCube controller, but not necessarily the analog shoulder buttons. So we'll see, but it's something to keep an eye on for racing games going forward if they can leverage a GameCube controller. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Nintendo Direct. It's happening later on tonight for me, 6 p.m. Eastern. If you're on the West Coast, 3 p.m. Pacific. And then depending, again, where else you are in the world, like in Europe, it's like, 11 p.m. or midnight. So it'll be a bit of a later direct out there. But they've done this, obviously, before where it's kind of a, like, later on in the afternoon for a direct. And this, typically, September, is a pretty big direct. It's going to be 40 minutes long. Nintendo put that out on Twitter. You can go to the YouTube page and you can get ready, set reminder and everything, but I will be live streaming it here. So if you'd like to come by and watch it with me and hope that something like Metroid Prime Trilogy finally gets announced, which it probably won't, because at this point, Nintendo's just going to hold that over me forever. They just shouldn't announce it at this point. No, they should. But I would like to see it anyway. But 40 minutes gives us a lot to go on. That's a lot of room, and we're expecting quite a bit to be talked about, specifically with something like the online service. But now we're getting little bits of teases and hints from different people. For example, here's a tweet. This is actually from Push Dustin, who took Sakurai's tweet and went ahead and translated it, saying, "It will be in the morning, Japan time, be sure to watch it." So, surprise, surprise, Sakurai wants you to watch the Nintendo Direct, which, what do you think that means? It means there's the Smash character. We kind of already figured that. We believe right now it's Terry from SNK, and that might disappoint some people. I've seen that online. People aren't really sold on the idea of an SNK character because it feels underwhelming. Keep in mind, though, we've had leaks and hints at different things, like Simon, for example, but then Richter showed up as well. We had different hints about the hero, but then 4 different Dragon Quest characters showed up, so you never really know at this point, right, who's going to completely show up. I think there's still a little bit of a trick up Sakurai's sleeve, despite Terry kind of being out there at this point. You never really know. It also looks like, this is going to be good, Monolith Soft might have something there, something big, and this comes from Soraya Saga actually retweeting the Direct as the wife of the head of Monolith Soft. And generally when that happens, something is there from Monolith, and that is getting people excited. I mean, consider this. We could have a new Xenoblade. We could hear about a new IP from them. We could hear about remasters. We could hear that, like Xenosaga is showing up, right, in some way. First one could get an HD remastered. Chronicles X could show up from the Wii U. There's a lot of really cool things that could happen here. However, I think I really want to see this new IP, and I do wonder if that could actually close the Direct out. I think Monolith Soft is big enough now, they're definitely well known, and their games are top notch. Yeah, you could close the Direct out with whatever their new IP is. I don't think it necessarily has to be a known thing to close out with. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Zelda or a Mario, although it could be a Mario. But I think they could close out with this massive, really cool-looking IP, this AAA-style IP, and I think that would get people really excited. Monolith Soft has quickly grown. They're very large now. They're also running support for Breath of the Wild 2, similar to what they did with the first one. So yes, I think they're going to be a big part of the Direct, and I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for fans of the Xenoblade series, for example. You never know with Xenosaga. There's a lot of fun stuff, I think, coming up. And then to top it all off from there, Nintendo Life had an article, and there was an interview showing Virtuos talking about beloved IPs coming back for the Switch. Ones that would get people really excited and specifically designed for the Switch. Not like, okay, it was designed for another platform and they're gonna fit it on the Switch. No. Taken and developed almost from the ground up or remastered from the ground up, remade even, for the Switch. And that's getting people all excited too, because now you're thinking, what's going on here? We've heard these rumors about a GameCube game showing up that didn't sell well. I believe that was from Per Schneider from NVC. Beautiful Joe, maybe? I mean, there's some cool ideas here. And yes, you can feel the Direct hype right now, right? Like, you can really feel it. And it's exciting stuff. Again, the fall Directs are generally pretty big. I mean, 40 minutes, that's longer than the E3 Direct, right? So this could be that Direct a lot of people are waiting for. I don't know if you're going to see Metroid Prime 4 there. Probably not. I'm going to be honest about that. I think that's still ways off. But Bayonetta 3? Maybe. Breath of the Wild 2 is probably next year. And now you start to wonder, what else do they have for us? Because there's stuff that I'm sure we have no idea could be coming over. Third parties, right? Some first party stuff, exciting times, and hey, come on by later on today, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We'll have some fun watching the Direct. Next up, let's talk about SNK, but not necessarily SNK and Smash with someone like Terry. Now let's talk about SNK creating hardware. Yeah, we've seen them, of course, make like the little Neo Geo mini thing, little arcade cabinet thing that was underwhelming for a lot of people, but they've always been pretty good at hardware, and they put out a tweet and showing a picture of what appears to be a joystick. It seems to be based around the Neo Geo CD, as you can kind of see the colorful buttons and the red joystick, and I'm not really sure how big this thing is. If you look at the joystick, either the pad itself is huge or the joystick is small, but then if you compare the joystick to the buttons, you start to realize that, yeah, maybe that joystick is small. It's very interesting to see this. They didn't say what it works for. I guess it's gonna run out to USB, but they said it should work with the Neo Geo Mini, so that would have to be USB-C. Maybe it's USB Type-C, and then they have a USB Type-A adapter that goes with it to plug into your computer, your Switch, your PS4. Hopefully it's just for everything. Like, hopefully it's just like a USB device and it works. The Switch has different arcade sticks already, but I would like to see something from Neo Geo. I think that'd be cool, SNK, right? Bring the Neo Geo branding over, and hopefully it's not like a cheap joystick. I'd rather have it be more expensive and quality rather than like a $40 or $50 joystick and it just be terrible. But SNK doing some hardware there with a joystick rather than trying to make another plug-and-play system that, let's face it, hasn't been great so far. Next up, let's talk about Panic Button. Panic Button, of course, has some quality ports on the Switch so far, and there's been a lot of curiosity about how they can manage to do some of these ports so well. How do they come out working on a Switch after they had just been at times struggling on other platforms, and they've even managed to fix up and improve the other platforms like Warframe, for example. Remember that? They talked about how Panic Button started working on it for the Switch, and all of a sudden the other versions of the game improved. And Panic Button had an interesting interview with Nintendo Enthusiasts that gave us a little bit of a look into their process, and I guess the ways that they go about porting a game and developing and creating and trying to make it so that it works better. And they point to quality assurance. That's right, QA, they say, is one of the biggest reasons for this. And according to them, of their 50-person team, 20% is assigned to QA because they feel that it's that important to go through all the levels to figure out if there's better ways to do it, and they have open communication to engineers who are then working alongside of the QA. Now, here's the thing. Quality assurance, think of like game testers, people going through to make sure the game is working well, bug checking, all of this stuff, right? They're generally not treated that well in the game industry. They're pretty much bottom of the totem pole for the most part from what we've seen. But it seems like Panic Button sees them differently. They see them as integral to getting this done, and that is refreshing. That's good to see. And it seems that several studios could probably learn from that, as Panic Button is putting out some quality right now, right? Like, you go to Panic Button if you want a good port, or if you have a game that is so difficult to move over, you gotta go get the specialists, and that's Panic Button. And they seem to point to their QA department as being a big reason for that, and that's pretty cool. And our last bit of news, I want to touch on Ninja with Microsoft again. Remember how we talked about Ninja getting signed by Microsoft to go specifically to Mixer? But I knew that wasn't going to be it. I knew that wasn't going to be like the end of it. And it seems I was right. I remember talking specifically about how they were going to use Ninja in marketing and most likely playing games. That's what they're doing. In fact, you can actually see here, Ninja tweeted out that he was going to be doing a run through Gears 5 campaign. This was last night, and kind of just hyping it up and advertising it. This is exactly what I thought was going to be happening with Microsoft. He's going to play Halo 2, by the way, obviously. Halo is going to be a big thing. They didn't sign him, I think, just to sit on Mixer and play Fortnite every single day. They have a plan, they have a strategy, and they're going to be using, I think, Ninja contractually to advertise these games. And this opens up something pretty interesting here when it comes to the big three and different influencers on stream and everything. That word's still weird to me, influencers, but yes, streamers, people who have a large audience that can then show off games. That you could see, you never know. Sony could bring people in, Nintendo could do it to the point where they actually sign somebody. However, the difference with Microsoft is they have a platform in Mixer. So they have a place for them to go when they're necessarily not needed for a game's launch. But it's kind of neat to see this, that they'd be signed under a contract exclusively, and then they say, yeah, Gears 5's coming out. Yeah, you're going to play that. I would have been real interested to see if they made him play Forza Horizon 4. That would have been a big test. But Microsoft's gearing up for next gen. You don't think Ninja's going to be playing all those first-party games? If you don't think so, you might be surprised when they start dropping. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This one is from Weiler XL, saying Microsoft should reconsider Scalebound. Give Platinum Games the same creative control as what Nintendo has done to Astral Chain, and you'll end up having a great exclusive game. Yeah, there is a good chance that if Microsoft and Platinum had not been clashing so much with what each side wanted to do, that Scalebound probably would have come out and it would have been okay. Like, I don't know how great the game would have been. I almost think the game kind of lives on as like a mythical legend at this point, not necessarily that the game was going to come out and be amazing. It's almost like that thing where you can't have it, but now you want it, right? That's how it is, because I remember when they were showing it, a lot of people weren't really feeling it. They weren't that interested in it, but then it gets canceled and all of a sudden it's a canceled game that we'll never have. So it's very interesting. The premise was kind of neat at the time, right? And if they had kept going with it, I would have been curious to see how much more they could have had. But Microsoft wanted a full multiplayer game. It seemed that Platinum was struggling to get that done with several dragons and players and stuff. And I feel like they just wanted to make a single player game like Astral Chain, right? Just let them do what they want and you'll get a good game. Wasn't the way it was going to happen with Microsoft, and unfortunately, the game had to go. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button. It really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about, whether it's the Nintendo Direct. What do you think is going to be there? Do you think there's any really big surprises? Do you think Monolith's going to be there? Do you think we'll see something crazy like an F-Zero or a new Star Fox game? Let me know what you think is going to be there down below. Make sure you stop by, of course, for the stream. Going to have a lot of fun there. And then also let me know anything about SNK with hardware, or Panic Button, or even Ninja with Microsoft. And what else? Do you think they're going to do something crazy and put him on like a Forza game or something when it comes out? Let me know, guys, down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.